Hey everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name's Callie, and I'm here to get things started. Sorry if you heard our little sound check there, little technical difficulties that we wanted to get out of the way before we started, so my apologies. But welcome to 13 Agency Strategies, and that you were able to join us today. I'd like to just start quickly by getting some of the logistics out of the way so we can get straight to the fun and pass it over to our presenters. Following our presentation, we'll be sending out an email with the recording and the slides so you can review them, share them with colleagues, do what you wish with them. We'll also have time, dedicated time at the end for Q&A, so be sure to submit your questions throughout the webinar and we'll get to as many as possible. Now, for today's speakers, we have Katie from WordStream. She's one of our senior customer success managers here. She manages all of our reseller partners and plays a huge role in working with our agency clients and assisting them to improve their ROI on a daily basis. We're very excited to have Katie with us today. Next, I'm very excited to introduce John, who is the Senior VP at Marchex, one of our great partners. John leads the Marchex Institute, which is responsible for publishing findings on advertising campaign performance, consumer data, and market trends. He also works very closely with clients as a strategic advisor. So we're very excited to have both of our speakers with us today. Now, before we can get started, I'd like to just kind of lay out the plan here and get you introduced to what we're going to be talking about. So we're going to show you how to set clear expectations and goals with your clients. We're going to show you how to effectively manage multiple AdWords accounts simultaneously. We'll show you when and how to use call-only campaigns. We'll go over which industries can contribute to the click-to-call economy, and then we'll cover the value of gaining visibility into call quantity and the challenge of unanswered calls. So lots to cover today. But before we get to all of that, I want to quickly get to know a little bit more about you guys. So we can do a quick poll. I just launched it, and we just want to know, are you currently monitoring your campaigns with call tracking? It's just a simple yes or no. So I'm going to wait for you guys to answer that, give you a few more seconds, and then I'll close it up and share the results with you. All right, so let me share these with you. And it looks like we have about 70%, so the majority of our audience is not monitoring their campaigns, and then about 30 with yes. So that's a pretty good range of answers here. Now I'm going to pass it over to Katie to get things started. Sorry guys, bear with us 1 minute. And Katie, over to you.
Hi everyone. So I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about, finding success with your clients. So there are definitely some main steps that we'll want to follow here in order to kind of help yourself build up for success. Especially from some of the early stages in working with your clients. That's when you're really going to be able to, make sure that you're crafting a solid relationship from the very beginning, because those are some of the most substantial points that are going to help you with overall campaign ROI and just really seeing success in your paid search campaigns. And so if we look at kind of the, number one in one of our success strategies, if you're looking at identifying quality clients, then you're going to be able to, identify quality clients by thinking about the types of businesses that will work well with your business model. So if you're thinking about, what type of resources you have, what types of audience you're looking to draw in, if you're really thinking about the people on your staff and what types of clients you can handle, that's going to help you to start off a positive relationship. So if you're also thinking about clients that have, accounts in languages that you're comfortable with, that's going to make management a lot easier. Of course, we want to, every agency wants to be able to take in a large variety of clients, all different languages from all different locations. But, we also want to make sure that you're working with an account that you're comfortable with. And so, sorry, just pausing briefly, just want to make sure that everyone can see our slides.
I think I'm only seeing the poll at this point.
Okay, let's see. Sorry, bear with me. Okay, sorry about that, guys. Technology is clearly not on my side today, but I think I'm just about there.
So sorry for the technical difficulties here, guys. We're trying to get it squared away. If you can just bear with us one more moment.
All right, so I think we should be good now. So sorry about that. Hopefully everyone can kind of, recognize the difficulties that do come along with technology sometimes. So looks like we've overcome those for now. So just, some Thursday challenges as we get through the week. So I'll backtrack a little bit, just to reiterate point one, really identifying quality clients. So you're wanting to make sure that you're establishing a solid relationship at the beginning so that you can set yourself up for success, but also your clients up for success. So I just finished talking a little bit about, finding accounts in languages that you're comfortable with. It can definitely feel daunting to pass up a client if they have, a strong business, but, maybe they're looking at different languages or just something that doesn't quite align with your business. In which case, if you're not feeling fully comfortable working with an account, it's going to result in a more difficult working relationship. So I would also consider things such as established accounts versus new accounts. You just have to, again, think about the capacity of you and your team. So things such as having someone come on as a client that has an established account, it's going to be a different type of relationship because they might be a little bit more familiar with paid search. They have a solid background for, finding data in their accounts, working off of that, and not having to feel maybe the daunting aspects of setting up a brand new account collecting data, and then going from there. But again, it's totally up to kind of what you're willing to take on as a business, but at least identifying what is going to be ideal for your business is going to help identify more of the quality and just, again, set yourselves up for success. If you're also looking for clients that have trackable goals, this is going to make the process a lot easier, because if a client is looking to spend money on advertising, you want to make sure that they have something trackable so that you can really communicate how their money is being spent. Is the budget being well spent? What is their return on ad spend? And if nothing is trackable, if, for example, a company is looking just to drive traffic to a website, of course, that's a great business goal, but you want to be able to track something like that, because sometimes if you rely too much on qualitative data or just don't have those strong numbers, then you can't really see what is working well in your account and where your money is being spent. And then the last two bullets, I would just say, look for clients that have a little bit of flexibility. So you want to make sure that someone is willing to try out different strategies, work with different budgets, and be open to just trying new things. And so that's where account expectations and restrictions come in, because you want to make sure that you're working with an adaptable client that is going to allow you to test different strategies, work in different aspects of their account and help them really set up for success. And so then number two, obviously keeping clients happy. This might seem a little bit obvious, but it can be so easy, especially when you're taking on large subsets of clients where you might overlook something such as retention. But keep in mind, things like that aren't something to be overlooked, because just because the client stays on with you for, a year, a matter of years, it doesn't mean that they're necessarily 100% happy. And so you want to make sure that you're completely transparent, involving your clients. If you're having consistent conversations and including them in the process, then they're going to feel more comfortable with the work that you're doing for them. It's a lot easier for a client to feel like they're finding success if they're involved and understand the different steps in the process. So again, you just definitely don't want to get too comfortable, because, again, longevity of accounts is not a sign of client happiness. So don't be afraid to check in, ask clients if they're happy, ask them what they're seeing on their side of the business. Especially when I work with clients, I like to check in, and even though the data in our accounts might look good to me, it's good to ask them if they're happy. Are you meeting business goals? Are you feeling like you're bringing in new clients? Are you making sales? Because even though something might look one way in the account and you feel like you're doing a lot of work for them, it's good just to check in and get their perspective. Number three, I would say really work on setting expectations with clients. So right from the beginning, you want to make sure that a client has confidence in you, and that, again, they do have some flexibility. So if they're having flexibility in budget and account changes, items like this are going to allow for them to have the most success, because then you will be able to test different strategies. For example, if you're working with someone who has expectations for their account that aren't aligning their budget, it's ultimately just going to lead to unhappiness, because, for example, if a client is looking to get 20 sales in a day, but their budget is so restrictive that they can only get 15 to 20 clicks, it would be a little bit unrealistic to expect all of those clicks to result in a conversion. So you just want to have those conversations with clients and make sure that what they're expecting for success in their account and what their business goals are align well with budgets, and is it realistic for them to achieve the different expectations that they're laying out with you. It's important for them to also be open to innovation, especially with paid search. So much is changing. It's a growing industry, and always new tools that are being released. And so if a client isn't as into testing out innovative new strategies, then it's going to end up that they're not being able to be as competitive in the market. So you really want to make sure that they are kind of open and willing. Number four, I would say share the success with clients. So even though the level of involvement of clients will vary just based on personal preference and what the business relationship is like, sending out reports and explaining your work to clients is never going to hurt. Because if you're figuring out what the clients see as far as the work that you're putting in, if they're understanding what types of success is coming out of your work, the more in know the client is, the better, because then this is less likely to result in unwanted surprises. If the client knows along the road all of the changes you're making to their account, and they understand what type of performance has resulted, then it's not going to end up having difficult conversations down the road where if for 6 months you've been working in an account, testing different strategies, seeing results, and then if the client was unaware of these, then it can sometimes be a little bit difficult because there's unexpected results or the client may have not approved of a certain strategy. So again, just keeping that level of involvement high is going to be helpful in creating a successful relationship, and it'll help with overall campaign success because then you'll feel like you're moving in the right direction without having the client be upset about anything. Number 5, definitely stay up to date. You know, as I said, PPC is ever changing, so it's important to stay on top of new trends, new strategies, different tools that are being released. And so if you're following paid search blogs, watching paid search webinars, really diving into social media and even attending some search engine conferences, this is just going to help you to stay up to date, to feel innovative, and creating conversations around new innovative strategies is something that I've found to be very successful with clients. It's perfectly easy to feel like you need that next step in optimizing an account and really staying competitive. And so if you have new tools to offer or new strategies, it's going to spark a great conversation and will allow you to test new things to really pinpoint where the client can find the most success. So then number 6, focus on effectively managing your accounts. So, again, this might be a little bit obvious, but staying organized definitely helps. If you're organizing multiple client accounts through an MCC, which is a Google My Client Center, then you'll be able to stay organized with all of your different accounts rather than having to worry about separate logins or getting access to each of your specific client accounts. And there are definitely benefits to this. So having your accounts organized in an MCC is going to mean easier management, again, no separate logins, and you also get a really eagle-eye view of how your accounts are performing. So you can see here as some analysis benefits, you can analyze the performance across accounts from one view. So rather than having to dive into each account and spend a lot of time kind of digging into performance, you can have that overview and see how each account is performing and then better prioritize which ones need attention or which ones could use different strategies to be implemented. And so here you can see that it does help easily focus on the accounts with larger pain points, identify opportunities to optimize, and just prioritize that workflow based on what you're seeing in each account. This is just a little bit of a view of different customizations that you can see in an MCC. So for example, if you have all of your accounts listed under one umbrella, you can track performance, you can utilize different filters to make sure that each of your accounts are maintaining specific goals, and you can also customize date range. So it really helps you to do all of that customizing and analyzing right from one screen. Here too, you could also segment out your accounts. So if you have various different accounts set up, you could even segment out by something such as click type and see, where are my clicks coming from? Are they coming from mobile devices? Are they coming from desktop? And then from there, you can better identify optimization points. Then number 7, I would say just structure smart. So I'm not going to get too into the structure of your account and campaigns, but just keep in mind that it's good to keep it simple. So you want to think about the goals of your account, define specific goals for campaigns. So for example, perhaps you want to break out campaigns by something such as budget, location, even device. If you have strong mobile traffic, you might want to have separate campaigns for mobile versus desktop. Targeting different locations can be a good way to break out your campaign. But no matter how you break it up, just make sure that the organization makes sense to you. So much of organizing your account is to help with the simplicity of managing it, and it just should be in a way that makes sense as far as going in and making it as easy to do as possible. And so in that organization, like I said, if you're maybe splitting out campaigns by different devices, such as desktop versus mobile devices, try different campaigns too, try different structures. So for example, you might want to try something like a call-only campaign, which are ads designed to really encourage users to call the advertiser. So you you might have seen these just in your general searching, or you might have heard about them, but they are just ads that look very similar to a typical paid search ad. The only difference is that they do only appear on mobile devices, and it takes out the step of having to click on an ad. So for example, if I search for a business and they're utilizing a call-only campaign, the only action I'll be able to take is to call them directly from my mobile device that I'm searching on. And you can see that there are numerous different benefits for this. So some benefits are that it makes it even easier for users to actually call businesses using this specific ad format. It, like I said, makes the phone call the main focus of the ad. So you're connecting with leads at an ideal time. If I'm searching on my mobile device, many businesses are going to benefit more from a direct phone call rather than having someone click through on that mobile ad, find a landing page that should be mobile optimized, and then have to kind of dive around on that mobile device, whereas I could eliminate a lot of those potential barriers between the prospect and business by just having that search call directly as soon as they click on the specific ad. And even more benefits. So some other benefits are that it's a clear call to action and a clear path to that conversion. So like I said, rather than having to click through and potentially get lost on a mobile page on my phone, it's just one clear call. That way you're also capturing 100% of those calls to leads. You're not missing out on people that do get lost on a page, maybe get frustrated and end up navigating away. You're also not having to worry about call extensions. So previously you were attaching your phone number to ads with a call extension that may or may not have shown, depending on Google's preferences. And so with your call-only campaigns, you're ensuring that your phone number is showing and allowing the user to make a call really easily. Another benefit is that you're not necessarily having to pay for desktop ads. So whereas some businesses are really thriving off of that mobile traffic, in the past they would have to include desktop as well and then just monitor their mobile performance. But with call only, you could skip that part, just focus on mobile if that's where you're seeing the best ROI or where you have the most potential to perform. And that way you can dedicate more of your budget to what is working for your account. Also thinking about it, every single click that you pay for is a direct call. So it allows you to set defined goals, specifically for return on ad spend goals for calls, and just really better track every single action as far as those phone calls go. And here you can just see a little bit of what a funnel would look like of the desktop search conversion funnel versus a mobile funnel. So with the desktop, there's, again, a lot more barriers. So someone sees an ad, they click on the ad, they visit a website landing page, which on average has a 3% conversion rate, and then you're potentially capturing that lead, but it's still not guaranteed. Whereas with the mobile, someone sees an ad, they call your business directly, and you're capturing that lead as long as someone's on the other end of the phone, or you have a way to have a message recorded to still reach the lead in one way or another. And thinking a little bit about who should use them, so really, the answer is simple. Any businesses that places heavy focus on calls. If you're not focusing on tracking phone calls, you're missing out on a huge part of your advertising in capturing leads, in understanding how your money is being spent, and even capturing potential conversion points. And the setup is so easy that there's really no excuse not to be using them. The only thing that you need to do is select a call-only campaign from the Search Network ad settings page. So as soon as you're going to create that new campaign, you're just selecting that it's call-only, and the rest is exactly the same as what you would set up for a normal search campaign. And so number 9, really just don't ignore mobile. If you look at some of these statistics, such as 70% of mobile searchers call a business directly from search results, but then also 1 in 5 calls from mobile phones are abandoned. So there's so much potential in the mobile searches and getting phone calls, but then you need to focus on things such as eliminating long hold times, connecting to an appropriate department, actually pick up the phone. You want to take advantage of mobile, but also make sure you have a successful solution on your end, because if people are consistently reaching an answering machine that's not providing them to convert in some way or another, or if you don't have a designated team to answer calls, then you're still just leading your potential lead into a little bit of darkness. So you also want to be able to evaluate a phone call process. So, are you recording your phone calls at all? Are you utilizing feedback from the callers? and just make sure that you are investigating and really taking action based on that mobile, because there's so much potential and can be utilized. And so now I am going to pass it along to John. So he's going to dive into more of the details about how you can really take advantage of mobile, and has a lot of great statistics on where mobile's going and all the success you can see with it.
Thanks, Katie. Thanks for the intro and for inviting me to the webinar. Marchex is a proud partner of WordStream, and I have to give a real plug to your corporate blog, which is a really great source of information for everything from search tips to just general online digital and mobile marketing advice and information. So I highly and I'm also talking about phone calls. That's what Marchex does. We connect online behavior, so surfing or on your mobile device, that point when you click the call and you go offline. Marchex is a company that stitches that together to provide a complete picture of ROI and tracking and attributing sales, consumer intent, and actions from all inbound phone calls. So we're really happy to be here. I'm going to take what Katie was saying about call-only campaigns and talk about it from the perspective of optimization. But before I do that, it's kind of a natural question to ask. Why are we talking so much about phone calls? So I want to give some data to provide that context. So what you probably know, if you read the report or you've seen the report that Katie was referencing earlier, the most common response to a location-based mobile search is a phone call. It's more popular than anything that one would do online after conducting a mobile search. But I think what's really underappreciated is how much actual commerce occurs from that point. So what may surprise you is that click-to-call commerce will actually reach $1 trillion for the first time this year and double by 2019. And I want to give you some of the data that is behind that forecast. First of all, consulting and advisory firm BIA Kelsey expects 162 billion phone calls from mobile phones to businesses in 2019. And it's going to occur from a variety of sources, and that's in the table on the right. So search, display, landing pages, and social will all contribute to really high call volume. And it's probably because of the very natural response to a search or just anything that you're doing on your phone. In addition, we don't buy every product on our phone, or through a call, I should say. Commodity products and other types of products that you could buy on Amazon, you'd probably use an e-commerce solution for that. But we tend to call when a product is highly considered, expensive, has a bunch of choices, or you really need to talk to someone to get some advice. And this data here is from Google and shows the average price point of products or services purchased when someone is likely to click the call. This next chart here comes from a report that we'll tell you about a little later on in the presentation, which dives into details around click-to-call commerce, and it shows the percentage of calls that end in a sale, appointment, or reservation for a bunch of different categories. So in a previous slide, Katie was showing that in the desktop funnel, you're really pumped up if 1% of clicks or 2% of clicks leads to something like a form or a sale. With a phone call, because the consumer is so highly engaged and so interested to talk, those conversion rates are much higher. So once you start to track and analyze phone calls, you can really increase sales and get a lot more from your mobile spending. And then finally, here's the punchline. When you add up all that data together, the number of phone calls, how much the products cost for a phone call or for a product someone buys over the phone, and then also the conversion rate, you come up with a really big number. And so click-to-call commerce will exceed $1 trillion this year and double in just a few years. So, so that really begs the question, though, is once you're starting to actually track and count phone calls, that's one thing. But how do you start to take this data and differentiate between high-performing and low-performing channels. So this is a slightly different view of Katie's chart a little bit earlier that shows a couple of triangles, the desktop funnel and the mobile funnel. This looks at a scenario where you search for a specific keyword like hotel suite on your PC. And you can see going from clicking on an ad through to purchase, everything is highly trackable. You go to a landing page, to a website, to a thank you form, and you have a couple of pixels on there, and you can tie that keyword search all the way through to a sale. There's a blind spot though when it comes to the phone because there's no pixel that follows you all the way through when someone dials that number and starts to connect with the business. So that's where call tracking and call analytics comes in. And so I will finish up the presentation with tips 10 to 13 that really talk about how to capitalize on that. So in the desktop funnel, there's a tracking pixel. It's just a little piece of code you put on your site to follow a consumer around. But in the call world, in click-to-call world, you really need to have a call tracking number. That's the tracking pixel of the call world. And so you provision a call tracking line from somebody like Marchex, and you put that phone number in your ad, and then you get a bunch of really rich data about that phone call. And so the next couple of tips will talk about that data. So in order to really differentiate high-performing and low-performing channels, I think the best thing that someone can do to get started is to set up an IVR. And an IVR is like a play file when someone calls your business and says, thanks for calling my business. If you're a new customer, press 1, or if you're calling for sales, press 1. If you're calling for service, press 2. And this has a couple of benefits. Not only for every single phone call, which would be tied back to a keyword, you know whether it's a sales or service call, but it also has the other benefit of blocking accidental phone calls. We've all made mistake phone calls, either from the contacts page on our phone or when searching on Google. We really didn't mean to, and an IVR will prevent that phone call from connecting all the way through to a business. So at that point, let me go back to the analogy I was drawing between desktop and mobile phones. The IVR, the call IVR, you can think of as your landing page, and you can test it just like a landing page. So you can do A/B testing on the types of messages that you have and whether you say sales first or a service first. The second thing you need to do to differentiate between high-performing and low-performing channels is have insights on every single call. So it's good to know whether a call is a sales or a service call. But when you can go even deeper on that to determine how long a conversation was and other interesting data about the call, you can start to identify consumer intent in a really clear way that's actionable. The image that you see on your screen comes from Marchex's CallDNA. That's our conversational analytic technology that visually maps, classifies, and scores every single call automatically so that you can optimize your efforts based on this data. So many of our customers use this data, the IVR data and CallDNA data, to help manage their specific keyword buys on Google. So to go back to the analogy, just on like on your website, you have clickstream tracking. We use CallDNA, or some advertisers use call recording to understand really what's going on after someone makes that phone call. And then finally, for search campaigns, you really need keyword level tracking, and that's the final piece to put it all together to link a call all the way through to a sale. The way that keyword level tracking works on a landing page is there's a piece of code you put on your landing page that essentially calls for a specific Marchex tracking number to be placed on that page based on the referring keyword, which is in the URL of the landing page, when Google sends over the click. And so that phone number can be tied specifically back to the keyword that resulted in it. And actually, if you use our product, Marchex Call Analytics for Search, we have a solution that can provide keyword level tracking and attribution for calls that occur in the from the ad directly. So to go back to that, this analogy, keyword level tracking is a thing that when you combine that with the IVR and DNA, takes a click to call all the way through to sale and back and back into Google AdWords so that you can optimize your pay-per-call or your pay-per-click for inbound calls. So the final couple of slides just talk about success, because I think it's a fair question to ask. Once you track calls and really differentiate between high-performing and low-performing keywords, how much can you really improve your campaign performance? This data comes from a customer of ours called AllConnect. They have more than 10,000 keywords and a pretty significant monthly spend. They started to use Marchex data to understand which keywords work better than others, and within a month were able to lower their overall cost per acquisition by 43% and increase their revenue materially. And then another case study, which is on a larger scale, although I can't name the client in this case, we had Forrester Research do an independent study with a Fortune 1000 company to understand the impact of Marchex solutions on its business. And they found that this company achieved $57 million in incremental revenue by leveraging call analytics and click-to-call. So it can really be transformative to your business. So with that, I will pass it back to my friends at WordStream.
Great, thanks so much. I appreciate that, and I thank you both for your great content. We have some special offers with you today that I would love to see if you're interested in. So we have an AdWords assessment by WordStream. What we offer there is a one-on-one consultant with an AdWords certified consultant. So if you'd like that, go ahead and choose that. We also are offering a copy of Marchex Click-to-Call Commerce Report, which we will send and follow up with you on that. We also have a copy of WordStream's Click-to-Call Report. Or we have another very special offer, a limited time offer from WordStream for free call tracking for your customers. So for a limited time, WordStream is going to pass along free call tracking for up to 3,000 clicks so that you can offer it free to your customers. So definitely opt in if you're interested in learning more about how this limited time offer works. Now, while you guys are choosing that, I'd love to get into some questions. John, I have two questions for you that I think we could start with. And again, if anybody has any other questions, definitely be sure to submit them and we'll get to as many as possible. So John, I know you were talking about IVR and some people were a little confused. Could you explain what is an IVR?
Yeah, an IVR, if anyone who has who's called like a large insurance company and says, thank you for calling State Farm Insurance, please press 1 to connect to a sales representative, press 2 if you'd like to file a claim. That interactive experience that you have over your phone is an IVR. And being able to place a specific IVR is a feature that's available in Marchex Call Analytics. So when you, in addition to provisioning a call tracking number to your campaign, you can also set up your own IVR specific for that advertising campaign. So you can get data on sales versus service, or really anything that you want to track when someone presses a 1 or 2.
Great. Now, a second question for you. Any data behind the number of calls that drop off because of an IVR?
Yeah, we do have data on that. I don't have the number off the tip of my tongue, but I would say that somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 15% of calls on search are accidental, meaning that someone clicked on a number and initiated a call on accident. And an IVR is a great way to sort of not have those calls impact your call center. When we have customers implement an IVR, a natural question is, does this additional pressing a 1 or pressing a 2 reduce the number of good calls I receive? And the answer to that is no. If someone wants to connect to your business and ask you a question about your product or service, just selecting a simple 1 or 2 is not a barrier. If you were to do something more complex than that, or ask someone a bunch of different questions, there may be a drop-off, but a simple IVR we think is the best practice.
Great, very insightful. Now, Katie, this next one is for you. Is there an overlap? If, say, I'm still running desktop ads, is there an overlap between those and call only?
So that's definitely a great question. You know, it comes up a lot when people are trying to test out new campaigns, especially diving into something where you're trying to focus specific campaigns just on mobile. So there's different approaches that you can take to this. If you really are looking to separate out your mobile and want your mobile focus to be on driving those phone calls, then I would say work with using your mobile bid adjustments on desktop ads. So if you're running desktop campaigns, you can really easily cut out all mobile traffic from those and thus drive all of your traffic to those call-only campaigns to really ensure that there's no overlap in what mobile users are seeing and ensure that you're getting all of the call-only traffic to really drive phone calls. You know, it wouldn't necessarily be a huge negative if you still were running desktop and had some mobile audience within those desktop ads, because then it would be, you know, a different approach. So rather than driving all phone calls, you would still get the mobile audience that are clicking through to your website. So it's a little bit about your personal goals as far as attracting just phone calls, having people visit still your website on mobile devices, or just kind of how you want to handle it.
Great, thanks so much. Now I think we have time for one more question, and John, this is for you again. So we have somebody that has, you know, a little bit of a concern. Say a lot of people do not like to have phone answers. So can you give any insight on any data to support kind of having a live person screen the call to direct them, or how would you handle that situation and that concern?
So the concern is about is basically about having people have access to call recordings. Is that
yes?
Am I understanding the concern correctly? Yeah, I think that's a great question. And CallDNA actually does not require a call recording in order to provide insights as to whether or not a conversation occurred. So we developed the product to work without ever having to save a call recording to disk, or without ever have to provide a call recording. So for those companies that still want insight into phone calls so that they can optimize, but at the same time are not comfortable with having call recordings due to the nature of the phone call, then we have a solution for you. That's a really great and insightful question. Thanks for asking.
Of course, thanks for the answer. Now I think we're out of time, but I'd like to first and foremost thank you, John, and our friends at Marchex for joining us today, and thank you, Katie, for your time. I really appreciate it, and thank all of you for joining us. We definitely encourage you to email us or connect with us, both us and Marchex, should you have any follow-up questions. We'd be happy to take the time and answer them, and we hope to see you at a future webinar. So hope to see you then. Thanks, and have a great day.
Thank you.